Let's do a real assessment of President Obama's 2 terms. First, jobs. Despite President Obama's claim that he's created millions of jobs, 14 million Americans have dropped out of the labor force. The labor participation rate is so low, we haven't seen this since the late 70s under Jimmy Carter. Paychecks. People are making less money now than they were when President Obama took office. Healthcare. Despite President Obama promising to reduce healthcare premiums for the typical family by $2,500 per year, healthcare premiums have actually increased by almost $4,000. Government dependency, for instance, food stamps skyrocketed under this presidency, up almost 36%, and homeownership down. And worst of all, the president has nearly doubled the U.S. national debt from $10 trillion when he took office to nearly $20 trillion. Now, to be fair, this is not all the president's fault. There are many long-term economic factors that play a role. But President Obama had both houses of Congress for the first 2 years, and he got everything he wanted to get done. And he made a lot of promises.
Generations from now, we will be able to look back and tell our children that this was the moment when we began to provide care for the sick and good jobs to the jobless. This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal.
I don't think the planet's healing that much. The stock market has been, though, outstanding under President Obama's 2 terms, probably mostly because of the Federal Reserve's cheap money policies. So Wall Street has gotten richer, but Main Street has not. Now to the foreign policy front. Even Obama's biggest supporters say he has underperformed. The southern border is an absolute mess. The president has pulled back the Border Patrol from the front lines and stopped constructing the border fence. And there have been multiple domestic terror attacks here on the homeland under this president's watch. They're not all his fault, to be fair, but there were many intelligence failures that led to massive loss of life. The Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese are all on the rise, and traditional allies like Israel, Saudi Arabia, and France no longer take American support for granted. And while the president deserves credit for killing bin Laden, ISIS has expanded throughout the Middle East and into Europe. The president underestimated the threat and has not pursued a winning strategy. Bottom line, after almost 8 years of President Obama, the American people are less wealthy and less safe. Hillary Clinton will be President Obama's 3rd term. So if Donald Trump can effectively tie Hillary Clinton to the president's policy record, not on a personal basis, but on policy, she will have a tough time defending this onslaught.